The Pact revolves around the intertwined lives of two teenagers, Chris and Emily, who have grown up as close neighbors and friends. Their families have always envisioned their future together, and their bond is likened to that of siblings. However, their lives take a dark turn when a fateful night leads to a tragic incident, resulting in one child injured and the other dead. This event sets in motion a chain of events that challenges the moral compass of both families and delves into the complex themes of friendship and love. The narrative primarily focuses on the Golds and the Hartes, the two families who have shared a close relationship for 17 years. Their friendship dates back to when both women were expecting their first child, and their children, Chris and Emily, were born within a month of each other. As the story begins, the two teenagers have been dating for 3 years, and everything seems promising for both families. However, their lives are shattered when they receive separate phone calls from law enforcement one night, shortly after sharing a meal together. The children have been involved in an incident and are rushed to the hospital. James, Chris's father, arrives to find his son with a visible facial injury, but seemingly alright. The Golds also arrive at the hospital and are led into a small room where they receive devastating news. Emily died upon arrival, and shockingly, she was shot. Initially suspecting foul play, the families are informed by the police that Emily's death appears to be a suicide. Days later, a police detective stuns the families with a suggestion that Chris may have been the one who shot Emily. The Pact explores the aftermath of this tragic event, unraveling the intricate dynamics between the families and the profound impact it has on their lives. It poses challenging questions about morality, friendship, and love, forcing the characters and the readers to confront their beliefs and grapple with the complexities of the situation. The revelation of Emily's death sends both families into a harrowing downward spiral. Melanie, Emily's mother, struggles to cope with the devastating news and is desperate for answers, leading her to place blame on Chris for the tragedy. On the other hand, Michael, Emily's father, has doubts about Chris's involvement and finds it hard to believe that he could have shot Emily. The Hartes, Emily's family, initially refused to accept the idea that their son could commit such a heinous act. Instead, they come to terms with the situation by embracing Chris's claim that the tragedy was a botched suicide pact. Although this story brings some solace compared to the thought of a deliberate shooting, they now face the fear of another potential tragedy, as Chris reveals his own struggles with suicidal thoughts. Within Picoult's gripping narrative, plot twists and turns further rock the families. Shortly after Emily's funeral, an autopsy reveals that she was pregnant, an unknown fact to everyone. The police used this newfound information to paint Chris as a motive-driven killer, suggesting that he murdered Emily to avoid the burden of a child ruining his future. On Chris's 18th birthday, he is arrested and charged with murder. While Chris grapples with the harsh reality of life in jail as he awaits trial, his lawyer, Jordan McAfee, takes on the task of preparing his defense. Jordan opts to construct an argument that revolves around a planned suicide pact between Chris and Emily on the night in question, deliberately avoiding the pursuit of the truth. However, Chris realizes the need to uncover the truth and feels compelled to share it, even though it contradicts the defense strategy. This internal struggle intensifies as Chris's cellmate is convicted of killing his own infant son, serving as a turning point in his pursuit of justice and truth. After his cellmate's tragic suicide in prison, Chris decides to reveal the truth to his mother Gus. This revelation puts Gus in a difficult position as she is expected to testify on Chris's behalf and cannot lie under oath. Witnessing his mother's distress, Chris intervenes and stops her from testifying, urging Jordan to allow him to explain what truly happened. Reluctantly, Jordan agrees to let Chris tell his side of the story. Chris admits that he did, in fact, shoot Emily on the fateful night. He recounts how Emily pleaded for his help in her suicide attempt, hoping that he could prevent her from going through with it. Despite his initial efforts to dissuade her, Emily remained resolute, and out of his deep feelings for her, Chris ultimately agreed to assist her. They both held a gun, and together they pulled the trigger. The weight of this confession is devastating, and everyone anticipates that Chris will be found guilty of murder. However, when the jury delivers their verdict, Chris is surprisingly acquitted. Although he is allowed to return home, the bond between the two families and their friendship is irreparably shattered. The Golds, Chris's family, decide to move away from their home of 17 years, while the Hartes are left to pick up the pieces and rebuild their shattered lives. Picoult's narrative provokes profound questions about morality from various perspectives. From the standpoint of Emily's parents, Chris's involvement in their daughter's death is seen as deeply immoral. Yet, if Chris's account is true and he was assisting Emily at her own request, in an attempt to alleviate her suffering, they must grapple with the complex realization that Chris was motivated by compassion for their daughter. Similarly, the Hartes must confront their own understanding of morality. Although their son did not commit premeditated murder, he confessed to aiding in Emily's suicide, forcing them to contemplate the moral implications of his actions. The jury, like the reader, is confronted with a crucial question. Can our perspectives on morality shift when faced with the complexity of Chris's actions? Although Chris did not deliberately plan to kill Emily, his involvement in her death was a result of her explicit request for assistance. This raises a profound dilemma. Can our understanding of right and wrong accommodate such nuanced circumstances? The Pact emphasizes the multifaceted nature of every story, challenging the notion that morality can be neatly defined within a binary framework. It urges us to consider that there may be multiple valid perspectives and interpretations of what is right or wrong in a given situation. The novel encourages us to examine the complexity of human actions and the subjective nature of morality, prompting us to question our own preconceived notions. In this narrative, Jodi Picoult skillfully navigates the gray areas of morality, reminding us that ethical judgments can be influenced by various factors and individual experiences. By exploring the intricacies of Chris and Emily's story, the novel encourages readers and the jury alike to contemplate the possibility that moral evaluations can be subject to change when confronted with unique circumstances and diverse perspectives. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.